Mike Sullivan's new lineup combinations may have found the Penguins their new best line. Marcus Pettersson got injured against the Ottawa Senators last game. We have an injury update for you, and a member of the Big Three playing some of the best hockey in his career. Welcome to Penguins Digest. My name is Remington Kuhn. If you haven't already, please press that subscribe button. 99.9% of you are not subscribed to the channel. If you want the latest updates on your Pittsburgh Penguins, press the button and we have you covered here on Penguins Digest. We have a lot to cover in this episode, so we're going to jump right into it with the most time-sensitive and pressing thing surrounding the Pittsburgh Penguins right now, Marcus Pettersson's injury. So Marcus Pettersson was hurt in the first period of last game against the Ottawa Senators and taken to the locker room. He did not return to that game. And in the days following the game, we found out an injury update about Pettersson. He has a lower body injury and is expected to miss weeks. So it is a week-to-week basis for Marcus Pettersson. Obviously, in hockey, this is a sport where we don't really reveal the exact details or nature of an injury. We pretty much just say upper body, lower body injury, and that's what we got to go with. So all we really know at this point with Pettersson is that it is a lower body injury, and he is expected to miss some time. So let's hear from what Mike Sullivan said about his superstar defenseman, the Dragon. He's a tough guy to replace on our group of D back there. He's a stabilizing defenseman no matter what pair we put him with. He plays on both sides of the puck. It's going to provide opportunities for others to step in and fill the role. I do think we have capable guys to step in and help us, and I would tend to agree with Mike Sullivan. The Penguins do have some depth, but obviously Jack St. Ivany is probably the only player I can think of that's in Wilkes-Barre right now that could come up and help the team as a seventh defenseman. Ryan Shea currently moving into that third-line defenseman spot next to Ryan Graves, as playing now with Erik Karlsson in Pettersson's spot will be Matt Grzelcyk. Sidney Crosby on Marcus Pettersson. He plays a lot of minutes, important minutes too, on the penalty kill and things like that. Everyone will have to chip in for those minutes. I mentioned Shea, I mentioned Graves. All of those guys are really going to have to step up with Pettersson out. And then Sid was also talking about Pettersson skating away from these types of hits before. I feel like he always finds a way to come out of those okay. He bends so many different ways. It's crazy, but it's always scary when you see that. And I agree with Sid. Obviously, the way that Pettersson fell was pretty awkward. Most guys would get injured in those cases, but Marcus Pettersson, a guy that gets hit quite a bit, falls down, takes those kind of falls like Sid said, and he gets right back up and keeps playing. So let's continue to dive into what Pettersson means to the Penguins and what kind of impact this is going to have on the team. You look at his stats for the season, and obviously the analytics I showed you a few videos ago showed that Marcus Pettersson has been one of the most reliable defensemen and reliable players in general on the Pittsburgh Penguins this year. That type of production can't really be replaced by anybody. I mean, you start moving guys around on the defensive pairings. I'm not saying it's not going to work out, but Pettersson has been so important for the Penguins that you can't really replicate what his production has been. Outside of Kris Letang and Erik Karlsson, he has been the most productive offensive defenseman. You know, Marcus Pettersson obviously playing those big minutes for the Penguins. He is not going to be an easy guy to replace. They were rolling 5D out there for a majority of that game after Pettersson got injured. And that's not a good sign for the Penguins when you have to play Ryan Graves and Matt Grzelcyk more than you already do, because those guys have been a liability pretty much all season for the Penguins, and not having Pettersson means that those guys have to play even more minutes than they already do. So it's not a good sign for the Penguins, not just losing one of your most productive defensemen, but also what it means for the rest of the defense, that they have to start stepping up and playing those minutes that they're not used to playing. And it's just going to be really difficult for the Penguins to hold off other teams that have, you know, potent offenses like the teams that they're going to be playing coming up, like the Kings tomorrow night. It's going to be a tough matchup without one of your best lockdown defensemen in Marcus Pettersson. So let's just move on to the next topic as we speak. And that is that the Penguins have found a new best line. And that is the truth. This best line for the Penguins is their fourth line. And they found something there. Mike Sullivan created this line by scratching Kevin Hayes, bringing Matt Nieto back into the lineup, and allowing him to play alongside Blake Lizotte and Noel Acciari. And that has been a very winning combination for the Pittsburgh Penguins ever since. It was an awesome move by Sullivan to put those guys together. And let's first look at Blake Lizotte. Lizotte was the key last game. He scored a goal for the Penguins. He has 9 points in 9 games since returning from his concussion. 7 goals this season, as you see on that graphic, in 16 games. That matches his season total from last season. So Blake Lizotte has been a force, and you love to see it. Even better now that they changed the lineup a little bit and put him on a line with Acciari and Nieto. And obviously, you see the production. It can't really be matched. 11 points in 16 games for a guy playing on the 4th line. I mean, this is a guy that's +7 on this team, the best plus-minus rating on the entire roster. And it obviously helps that in the 16-game season back, the Penguins have been playing some of their best hockey of the season. But Blake Lizotte's a big reason why they've been playing some of their best hockey of the season. So give this guy a little bit more credit than what he is getting, because he has been a force. Matt Nieto had this to say about Lizotte: "It's never fun playing against him. I'm happy we're on the same team now. Not an easy guy to play against." Talking about his new line mate, Blake Lizotte. That was when they were both signed on the same day during the offseason. Matt Nieto and Blake Lizotte, brought in by Kyle Dubas. Lizotte took a penalty defending his teammate Noel Acciari, who got leveled that last game. And the Penguins had a number of key penalty kills, which continues their impressive streak on the PK, which, you know, these guys are the reason why. Matt Nieto and Noel Acciari playing a lot of minutes on the penalty kill for this team, and it has been an effective unit as of late. As we look at this box score from the last game, look at the guys that are producing points. This is the 4th line we're talking about here. We got Acciari, Nieto, Lizotte. The only guy on this box score that isn't on the Penguins' newly configured 4th line is Kris Letang. And that's the guy we're going to talk about here in just a minute. He's been trending a lot lately for the Pens. He's been playing some of his best hockey of his career, showing off. And obviously at his age, he's not slowing down anytime soon. But really, I just have to give credit where credit is due to that 4th line. Lizotte, Nieto, and Acciari not only contributing to the box score, but also doing a good job killing off penalties for the Penguins, bringing that energy that the Penguins desperately need, just playing their heart out, big impact players at the top of the lineup, and then you have these spark plug, Energizer Bunny type guys at the bottom of the lineup, and Blake Lizotte is that. He has been so good since returning from that injury, and we talked about his numbers backing that up, but the things that you can't see are even more important for Lizotte, Nieto, and Acciari. As we go to the 3rd and final segment here today, bang, bang, Kris Letang. Kris Letang is 1 of 1. He has been staying hot, played exceptional in the game against Montreal, and even better against Ottawa. He just continues to impress. On the offensive side, on the defensive side, it doesn't matter. Kris Letang has been vintage. One of the most iconic players in Pittsburgh Penguins history. One of the members of the Big Three that doesn't get nearly enough credit. And I just like talking about this guy. He's one of my favorite players to watch. Letang, Crosby, and Malkin have been around for so long at this point, we take them for granted. But what Kris Letang is doing in this season is just 37 years old. Let's just let the stats tell the story. Kris Letang in 29 games, 15 points, 76 shots on goal. -12 rating doesn't do it justice. His expected plus-minus rating is only -4. He's blocked 31 shots already this season, 50 hits. And that's something I noticed in the Ottawa game. He was playing very physical. I love what I'm seeing from him. Tanger and EK were both completely unfazed by playing all those extra minutes with only 5 defense. And you see the time on ice. The last few years, he's been among the league leaders in the NHL in time on ice. And this year, he's still playing over 23 minutes a game. And at his age, I mean, that's something to really be celebrated. The health issues that Kris Letang has had over the years, you know, missing some time due to some crazy stuff happening off the ice. But Kris Letang is 1 of 1. I don't think we appreciate him nearly enough, and I think he needs to be talked about a lot more than he is. Love this guy, Kris Letang, and what he brings to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And bang, bang, Kris Letang. Here is the tweet from Penguins PR. Letang scored 5 times in his last 7 games and leads all NHL defensemen in goals since November 30th. That is well documented, what Kris Letang has done in his last few games. He is on pace for 19 goals, which would be a new career high, surpassing his 17 that were recorded in 2015-16 and in 18-19. So he's had 17 a couple times. He's going for 19 this year. I think he could get 20, to be completely honest with you. This guy is a menace. Again, not nearly enough credit given to Kris Letang. Probably the least celebrated guy in the Big Three, but oh man, does he bring a lot to the table for this team. There are a lot of things that Letang does that don't really show up on the box score or on the game summary. I mean, last game, this guy was bailing the team out multiple times. There was a turnover in overtime by Rickard Rakell that was nearly game over for the Penguins, but he gave him another chance to win by making a spectacular defensive play to save the game. And that's just what Letang does. He does all the things that you don't really see. And unless you're watching the game and you're in tune with what's happening, you don't notice a lot of the things that he does because it doesn't show up on the scoreboard all the time. Now, he's obviously a point-producing defenseman as well. He is an offensive guy that does put up a lot of numbers, just like Karlsson. But Letang does all these other things in the nitty-gritty that you don't really notice unless you're really watching the games and being in tune with this team. He is a spark for this team that they desperately needed over the last 10 games, and a reason why they've been winning is Kris Letang. So just give this guy a little bit more credit. I like talking about Kris Letang because of what he's done for the Pittsburgh Penguins. 3-time Stanley Cup champion. Him, Crosby, and Malkin are this team. They've always been this team. Since I started watching them pretty much, that has been the core, and I just love seeing these guys have success at their, latter half of their career. Kris Letang, 37 years old, playing some of the best hockey in his career, and that deserves acknowledgement. So the Penguins fell to the Ottawa Senators, obviously, in overtime. There's a lot more to talk about with that game, but I don't want to bore you guys too long. I just wanted to cover a few basic things, and we got plenty more to talk about before the next game against the Los Angeles Kings. We're going to talk more about Blake Lizotte having his revenge game against his old team. I also really look forward to talking about Philip Tomasino, who's been an impact player for the Penguins, Cody Glass, another one, and as well as Erik Karlsson, a guy that was flying all over the ice last game against his old team, the Ottawa Senators. Plenty of that and more to come about the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is Penguins Digest. If you want all that content, hit the sub button and we will provide it. We're going to be posting videos pretty much every day about this team with updates, news, rumors, anything, analysis. We got it here on this channel. So please hit that subscribe button and we will not disappoint you. But thanks for tuning into this episode of Penguins Digest, and we'll see you on the next one tomorrow, right before the Penguins take on the Los Angeles Kings in Pittsburgh.